keeper. Oh, oh, God is a promise keeper. Ooh, oh, God is a promise keeper. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Speaking with Sherri show. I'm your host, Sherri Hicks. Listen, I'm so excited because this is season 2, show number 4. And I'm so excited because this has been such an incredible ride. And I thank all of you viewers that have been watching and supporting and sharing and tagging your friends, because this is ministry. This is absolutely ministry. So today I have with me a beautiful couple to help me represent this month of hope. Yes, the month of hope. And they have an interesting, incredible story. I'm so stoked because they are a couple that have an interesting background and career that I didn't get an opportunity yet to interview. So I'm pretty excited about that. So welcome everyone to the show, Pastor Rodney and Kiesha Wilkinson. How you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Yes, it is. We're humbled.
Yes. Listen, you guys are an absolute power couple. Yes, you are to me. And for all of you viewers, I met them some years ago, and I've had an opportunity from afar to just watch an incredible blossom of talent, ministry come forth. And I had to bring them to the show because they have so many moving parts. And I know that it is absolutely going to minister to young pastors, older pastors, just young couples, period. Because what I wanted to do with this show by bringing power couples is to bring back hope to the Black marriage in the church. Bring back hope to let everybody know this thing actually does work. It does work, but it works through the power of God. So I want to jump right into your story. For everyone that's on right now, please tag other couples, tag some of your friends, because you are in for an absolute treat this afternoon. So this is the month of hope, guys, and you absolutely represent hope to me for a number of reasons. And we've known each other for a while, but I want for the viewers to really get to know a very, very intimate part of who Rodney and Kiesha are. So tell everybody, how did you meet?
Well, we actually met through friends.
Okay.
His best friend was dating my best friend at the time.
Oh.
And they thought it would be really cute for us to double date. So they convinced both of us that we need to talk, we needed to meet. Okay. And they bent their necks to make it happen.
Wow.
We were very young. It was right before my senior year of, it was the summer before my senior year of high school. Okay. And he was entering his second year of college.
Okay.
So yeah, we met. We met through some friends. It was
love at first sight.
It was love at first. It's funny because they were young. When I first met him, he came over my friend's house with some of his friends, and they were just being, teenage boys and cracking on some of the furniture. And so I was a little turned off the first time that I met him. But
okay.
The second time that I met him, he pretty much had me hooked, Yeah. So that's how we met. We've literally been together since then. So that was 2000. That was the year 2000 that we met.
21 years.
Going on 21 years.
Wow. So what ages did you meet?
So she was, I think, 17.
I was 16 when we met, and he was 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rodney was like, but look at where you are now. Look.
Yeah, God has been faithful.
Smart friends. Wow. So it's okay for getting our friends to set us up. It's okay. Sometimes it works.
Yeah, sometimes it works.
Yes.
I don't think that when we first met, I don't think either of us we were so young. I
Okay.
don't know. We had no idea what was in store. And, we were just young kids, double dating, and it was cute at that time. And God had other plans. So we're grateful. We always look back at our story like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, an amazing story. So what made you decide to get married though?
Well, we dated for 5 years before thinking about marriage.
Okay.
And we, man, when we met, we weren't believers, and so
Okay.
it's through our dating process that we were converted. Converted first, and then she converted later, and then it just came to a point where I was pretty sure she was the one. I was praying for the Lord to give me some type of affirmation on that, and once He did, I pretty much just agreed to just make it official. So.
Wow. And how old were you guys when you decided to get married?
So I was 24. She was 21.
Yeah, when we got married.
Wow. So for all you viewers out there, that is not too young, especially when you are intentional about this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So what was the proposal like? How did that happen, Rodney?
Yeah, so I think God designed our proposal. Here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
This is not the most romantic thing, but we were on a youth retreat. Okay. And
a college
youth retreat.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I did college ministry for 10 years at Wilkinson University. And we were on a retreat, and man, it's one of those times where the Spirit of God just kind of invaded a room. And in one moment we're laughing and joking, and the next minute we're weeping before the Lord.
The whole room. And it must have been like, gosh, college students, probably 20, 30 packed up in.
Yeah.
And the Spirit of God breaks out, and man, we just start worshiping, we start praying for one another. And I just get a strong sense like, here's the time, here's the moment. Make it official. And I went to her in a moment of worship and was like, would you be my wife? And she said yes.
Yeah.
She said
right
yes.
there.
And all of our college friends just went bananas.
The room broke out in an uproar.
We were the first couple among all of our college friends, people we were discipling to get married. So the whole place was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was kind of a foretaste of the kind of life God will call us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not about, and I think it's always been this way with us. We want to live this life loosely, so that we can be poured out for the cause of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like that from the inception.
From day one. Yeah.
Okay. Let me go back because I need the viewers to really, really catch what you just said. In a moment of worship, God spoke to you, and that is when you asked her to marry you. Yeah. Let me tell you, the shows that I've been having have not been giving me those romantic fairy tale type, something you would see on television. And that's why I love this show, because it's just bringing everyday people with just real stories. I love that, because I love what you said, that it's a foretaste of where God would take you, two of you, after all these years.
And I did go the next day, and I spent a lot of money at a jewelry store.
I didn't need that ring, though. I needed that ring.
But to me, it's the foundation. And that's what I want for the viewers to pull out of this. It is the foundation. So now to you, Kiesha, I'm gonna just push this to you. What made you say yes? Because some people might say, oh, you just were caught up in the moment and your friends were there and you felt compelled. Explain what made you say yes at 21.
At 21, it's odd because we were young, but we were leaders. Wow. And so, there was a lot that we had been teaching others about dating and the importance of what to look for in a future spouse. And I was convinced that this was the man that I wanted to marry. He was a great leader, a great visionary, and I was enamored by his ability to be a visionary, and I was just convinced that this. I think the number one thing that I loved the most was his love for the Lord, like his passion and his personal relationship with the Lord, and that was stronger with the Lord than it was for me.
Woo!
And
Now you
I
said
felt,
something just there.
yeah,
Wow.
I felt safe. I felt that because of his love for the Lord and his accountability to the Lord, that I felt safe. And so I knew that a proposal was coming. I didn't know that we'd all be in pajamas and wrapping scarves, and I knew it was coming. But the moment was really beautiful, and so when he proposed, I didn't hesitate to say yes.
Wow. So now you just said something that you said a lot, but I want the leaders to go back to the people to go back. You said you were leaders. Leaders of what?
A college ministry. And so at 22 years old, I was led of the Lord to start a Bible study in my dorm room. So we started with 3 people.
Wow.
At Florida Atlantic University. And she was at the University of North Florida. She later came to Florida Atlantic University.
Right.
And we did that for 10 years. And I think that's important for people to see.
Yes.
We just had a group that was at our home earlier today. You don't look at someone and see them in their gifting and things. They just got there. There are tens of thousands of hours of preparation that goes unseen before what
the final
product you see.
Yeah.
So I think that we've been leading since
we kind
23 maybe and 20.
Maybe
Leading women's groups since then. So 20
So
years of ministry. Something like that.
let me go back, because you just said a mouthful. A lot of people see where you are now, but they don't know that you started in a college dorm room, 3 people.
Yeah.
God led you to start a Bible study on a college campus, Florida Atlantic University in Boca, because I want people to know, look, a lot of people just pop up and say, okay, God called me to pastor, but there's a bunch of groundwork, of groundwork.
Yes.
Wow. And you guys did that, you said, for 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I think it was,
years.
Solid 10. Yeah, we had already graduated, started having kids, and we were still on that campus with those college students. We had college students at our house every week, almost every day of the week. So yeah, we did it for a long time.
And God was gracious and kind.
Yeah.
He took the availability, not necessarily the extraordinary gifting.
Right.
I stuttered growing up until about maybe 8th grade. So I rarely asked questions in class because of my stuttering. So man, that's what I would encourage viewers with. It's not about the necessarily the gifting. It's about the availability.
Yeah, it's about your yes.
And the yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys became available at such a young age to actually put yourself out there, to make yourself available to the Lord, to college students. And that's no easy audience.
No, it's not. We love them though.
We love them.
We love them. That's the best age group. Love that age group.
And you know what? I know you love them because your face lit up when I said
yes. Still, yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow, that is incredible. And here's the thing, that grew from what you remember. How big, because we started out with 3 people. How big from what you last remember did that grow to?
Oh, over
in its heyday, it was over 100.
Over 100 kids. Yeah.
Wow.
In its heyday. And let's talk about the first 5 years. 5, 10, 15. It was challenging, but it came to a point, and this is important to hear, probably around year 6 or 7, that it caught when it caught fire. It became the thing to go to on Wednesday night. People would build their schedules around it. Yeah. But that took year 6, 7, developing leaders,
just faithful Faithful, continual, being faithful to it.
Yeah, I think it's also important for listeners to know. Probably in year 5, I believe my second daughter was born, and I was walking and praying before Bible study. And I was telling the Lord I was done. I can be more productive than this. I'm too old for this. College pastors shouldn't bring their kids to stuff. I got a stroller in the room,
Right.
and the Lord was just like, "You'll be done when I say you're done."
Mm.
And shortly after that is when we started experiencing the growth.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened at the college is what gave me the confidence to plant the church.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So God was gracious.
So right when you said, God, I'm done,
Mm.
that's when it really, really caught wind and took off.
Shortly after, yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So for all of you viewers that you say, man, listen here, this is already getting good. Start to tag some of your friends right now. Tag everybody that the Lord will place on your heart right now, because you are in for a treat, especially for other pastors that you know that have been in it, especially during this pandemic, because we're going to talk about that and the struggles that some of them are going through. I want for them to hear this inspirational story from this power couple, because they have the experience starting on a college campus, and they know what it's like to want to give up, but God give you a clear answer that says you will be done when I say that you are done. Wow, amazing. So Rodney, you are a PK kid.
Yes.
So tell us what that was like.
Challenging, but challenging and beautiful. We grew up in church Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was a grind, and in my high school years, I rebelled. I ran away. I wanted nothing to do with it. And into my first year of college, it was challenging, but as I look back on it, it was beautiful, because my father and mother modeled for me sacrifice, and I think we don't see that enough.
Right.
People that are willing to just give and give and give and trust the Lord with the results. And God has honored them. You know, when our family gets together, we reminisce on those days of growing up, you know, in that routine or that public eye and people watching you. And you can't wear this because you're so-and-so, you're Pastor Irwin's son. You can't put that on. I'm like,
right.
I ain't signed up for this. You know, but God's been gracious, and I'm more thankful today for upbringing than even in recent years. Yeah.
And I think that that's the foundation. It's interesting that you would be a PK kid and wanting nothing because of what you saw. And a lot of times people have seen what I would call back in the kitchen, what really happens and how it can really be. That would make most people run as far away as they possibly can. Because of the politics.
Let me say this. That still lingers. I don't know if you can relate. I'm sure you can. It can get to a point where if you see someone cause harm to your parents repeatedly,
wow,
and then your parents continue to put themselves in harm's way for the betterment of the person that's hurting you. Me pastoring is a miracle. Who signs up for that?
Who signs up for it?
I want to watch my parents get beat up, and I'm gonna run and go get beat up too. If it was not God's grace, this is why, man, we I get the power couple, but we're more like a grace couple, just because if it had not been for God's grace over our lives, things for us are very much unexplainable. Even how we get to a yes, but God was kind, and God was powerful in calling us and helping us see His plans for our lives.
Wow. Okay, let me let the viewers just absorb all of that. Just absorb it, because it's the grace. It's the grace of God, and that's what's on you now. The grace. God has graced you to do that and He graced you when He called you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Wow, to see your parents get beat up.
Really. But it's true, and you know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's true.
I do, but the thing about it is, you can tell when people are called.
Yeah.
Because they
That's good.
they keep getting up and they keep doing it.
Yes.
They just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are doing it so graciously. You have raised leaders in that group that you had on the college campus, but you also raised leaders in your actual church as well. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but I'm just in awe of what I see and what I'm hearing you guys talk about. But let's talk a little bit more now about you, Kiesha. I want you, because this is Pastor Rodney, but this is also your husband. Tell me, what is your favorite thing about Rodney? Like, what is the thing that you say, this is what really makes him the man of my dreams?
I think my favorite thing about him, and the thing that I'm still just enamored by, is the fact that he's such a visionary. He can see something. He can see something and just call it into being. He can, God will just give him an idea or a thought of something, and he will begin to, put meat to those bones, and then his ability to be able to draw people into that, to believe this, to say this is a good thing, and people are willing to follow his vision because of his character, his track record.
It's a biblical vision too.
Come on, track record.
Vision.
Track
His track record, his integrity, his constant reminder that he's a mess, that he's not perfect. He heralds that probably every week from the pulpit. And so I think people can see, they see the vision, they can be convinced that it's a good thing for the Lord, and they are able to follow. And I love that about him. I love that he is accountable and still wants to be relevant. And I think that all kind of feeds into his ability to be a visionary.
Wow. That's a tough act to follow right there, Rodney, because you know you're gonna now. You're gonna have to explain to us, what is it about Kiesha?
Yeah, it's many things. It's many things.
I got time.
Man, once it's her love for the Lord.
Yes.
I mean that, like, I would not have proposed to her if I didn't sense that this is someone that not just loves the Lord, but can run with me in ministry. And I think that's first and foremost, is her love for the Lord, her love for me, her love for life, her beauty, her grace, her ability to really, watching my wife, even over the years, relate to all kinds of people.
Come on.
Because we'll go in all kinds of settings, and she has switches to her ability to adapt to various settings. And so, man, I just love who she is, and then her love for people, her love for young women, for just the people of our church, for young people. She is a gap filler at many points in our church.
Come on, I like that.
Something will go wrong with worship, Kiesha's on the worship team. Something goes wrong with kids ministry, Kiesha's taking over kids. Like it's she fills in gaps with humility and grace. Yeah. That's important. That's important. And then just her overall support for me. I could not do for many reasons, but I don't know if I would have done what I do apart from God's grace and support that He's given me and my wife.
But thank God there's a gap filler next to that. Yes. And you know what I love? This is what I love about doing these, as I always watch the other spouse when the spouse is talking about them.
We were
Oh
taught to do that, Sherri.
I love it. Oh,
Sherri, we were taught to do that.
I just love that.
Great.
I love it. I love when you can talk about your spouse in such a beautiful way. And this is the perfect setting to do it because it's just raw.
Yeah.
Just raw. It's right off the cuff. It's not made up. And so I love that. And I love how you guys are supporting one another and the grace that God has given you to be the man for Kiesha and Kiesha for you to be that beautiful, graceful woman that he needs by his side. Yes, yes. I'm so glad I've been able to see it. So tell me, now that when you guys got together, did your families, because you guys were kind of young, how'd your families mix well with that culturally?
Well, culturally, both of our parents are from the Caribbean islands, and so I think culturally that is seen as a sense of comfort, like, oh, they're from the islands and we're from the islands. And my mom loved Rodney from the moment that she saw him. She loved him, and I think it's just his he was just very kind of humble, and our families, we were young, but we dated we were together for some time.
Okay.
And so I can even remember first dating him and my dad saying, "Oh, it's just puppy love, man. It's just puppy love." And and then time passed, and like when I went away to school, because we dated for a year, my senior year, and then I went off to school. And I think maybe both of our families figured out, oh, all right, it was a cute run, But I think our relationship grew stronger with me being away for the 2 years, because it's really when we wholeheartedly gave our hearts to the Lord, and we grew together spiritually, apart, but together.
Yeah.
And so then coming back and transferring back home and it's FAU, and us doing campus ministry together. When we got engaged, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, it's about time. Like how long y'all gonna drag this on? So it had been, it made sense. We were kind of part of each other's families at that point.
Okay.
And so we were young, but it had developed over time. And I think both of our families saw, I guess weren't the average, 19, 20-year-old, in a sense. They could see we were like putting on, they would come out and support the conferences and different things that we were doing. And so, I think they were happy to see us together and making it final.
Okay. And Rodney, would you agree?
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
So now let me ask you this, because there's a lot of people out there who are watching this now, married couples, young married pastors, and there are some people who I know during the pandemic really struggled. They struggled terribly during the pandemic because now can't go anywhere, can't leave the house, you're there. So a lot of different things started coming out, a lot of things that people just had swept up under the rug. But I want you to speak to a lot of marriages out there about what it takes. Give me 3 things that it takes to make a God-filled marriage.
Yeah, that's a great question. The pandemic exposed a lot, and that's what it did. It didn't create anything. It just exposed what was already there. And I think what couples need in crisis. We just finished a workshop. We'll be having another workshop in September. Like that. Now, I just want to encourage pastors, get your couples together. Like, it don't have to be this big thing, but just get something for your couples so that they can have a moment to speak honestly to one another. It's not even about how great the content is. And we just try to get couples together so they can talk. Because it's this all day long. It's back and forth, job, kids, whatever. But the 3 things I'll say you need. Number 1, you need the gospel. You need the message of what Christ has done that you were a mess who could not save yourself, and apart from the grace of God, you were utterly lost. That kind of person that understands that now has grace for others because they understand how much they have been forgiven. The person that can wrap their mind around how much of a mess they are and in need of grace has less trouble extending grace to the other person that is also a hot-heated mess and in need of grace. And so God wants us to be the instruments of grace to get grace to his people that need it. And so that's the first thing. It's all about the gospel. It's all about what Christ has done. And then the second thing, and then I'm gonna leave one for my wife to answer because she does this stuff with me. The second one would be communication. If all we got is $10 for the week, as long as we can talk diligently about where those $10 are going, we'll be okay.
Exactly.
I'm a firm believer. If you can communicate, if you can listen well, if you can stop talking for a moment and listen to what your spouse is saying, and then vice versa, I think you can get places. We do a short exercise where we say, okay, you tell me what's in your heart, I'll be quiet, I can't say anything. We've been doing this for probably 15 years now. Then when she's done, I'll tell you what's on my heart, you can't say anything. And at the end of that time, we just pray and we go on with our day. I'm not even gonna give you a chance to try to rebuttal and think through, because the problem that happens is when you're listening to that person talk, you're already building your rebuttals in your head. If we remove rebuttal as an option, it forces you to listen. And I think you can engage with the heart in a better way. So man, the first thing is, man, if the gospel isn't the foundation, I don't know how you make it, to be honest. Marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. I don't know how you make it. But secondly, you got to be able to communicate. What's another thing you'll say?
I would say that number 3 would be prioritizing investing time in your marriage. And especially like for the pandemic, a lot of people say, well, I'm spending so much time with this person, I'm always around them. But just because you're in the same room as a person in the same house doesn't mean you're actually intentional about spending time with that person. Marking out some time to say, we are going to do this together, whether it is the communicating, or whether it is going through scripture together, or whether it is even you being in community with other couples, other married couples together, but you're having some time that's very intentional for the marriage. The kids, either someone's coming to watch them, we dropping them kids somewhere, or or we are putting them to bed at a certain time so that we could have some time together, whether we're going to go through a book together or have a conversation, whatever it is. But if we sometimes you see that people become strangers, they're just like roommates in a house, and that doesn't happen from we were talking about this in the conference. It doesn't happen just from one situation. It's many little situations built up over time. And a lot of times people for whatever reason, marriage, well, life happens, and life can get busy, and it can be easy to make marriage on the back burner. And people feel like they don't necessarily need to be intentional about investing in their marriage, investing that quality time. So I would say that's number 3.
And the 2 things that we've seen that hinder that priority is children and money. And children, we got 4, we get it. Them jokers gonna leave. And I know 3 out of 4 of my children are leaving fast. My 4th one will hang with me a little bit, but the rest of them,
don't leave mama fast.
and they're just gonna get up and go on in their life. So we have taught our children, if you want mommy and daddy to be happy here together, we need to leave you this weekend. You need to miss your game this weekend. We're not gonna worship you. What they need to see the same kind of sacrificial love demonstrated. So that they can see that marriage is a priority. The second thing I think people worship is money. And so they'll say, I can't do this because of, and they'll put a money issue there. And what happens is money becomes their God. And so they'll chase it in 2 and 3 jobs. They'll chase it in 7 and 8 degrees. They'll chase it in this promotion and that promotion or this business. And I'm not anti-money, but when money begins to control you, it is functionally become an idol and has taken the place and priority that marriage should have in your life. So I think those are the two things I see.
Wow. So I just want to piggyback, say that the three things are: number one, the gospel, all inclusive, that grace, the communication, speaking, allowing someone to speak without rebuttaling, of what they said. And then last is prioritization. Yes, yes. This has been good. Tag your friends, guys. Tag your friends. If you've been enjoying what you've heard already, tag your friends. They will appreciate that, because this is evangelism through social media. Yes, we are evangelizing by bringing ministries. Say, well, this is not a Bible study. Yes, it is. It's a Bible study, because you are getting things that you would have had to pay a lot of money to get. And what is that? Someone's actual experience. They're giving you their experience, the good, the bad, and ugly. So to talk about careers, we want to just move on to careers. Kiesha, you are a first responder.
I am.
Been in the thick of this thing, this pandemic, for over a year now. And I've interviewed so many different people who've had COVID experience, and bless God, miracle, they've overcome it. But you're the first responder that I had the pleasure of interviewing. So I want to know, how has this pandemic changed your life as a first responder? What's it been like?
It's been crazy. Things are getting a lot better now. But in the thick of it, it was a world of crazy. It was a whirlwind that came, and I don't think anyone was expecting it, and the hospitals really didn't know what to do. Things were happening so quickly. It progressed so quickly that no one really had time to say, okay, let's do this. And so it got really, really challenging. And I work in ICU. So,
And what's your actual title? What's your actual title in the ICU?
I'm a registered nurse in the ICU.
Okay.
And so it was, it was traumatic. All of the nurses, we always joke about the therapy that we'll need once all of this is over, because of all of the things that we've seen. And so it was, I don't want to get too dark on here, but it was,
no, but I want you to be honest.
He knows I can be pretty dark.
But I want you to be honest, because the viewers have never seen me interview a first responder either. I haven't had a nurse, so I really want to know what this has been like.
Yeah. I mean, in the very beginning, the hospitals, obviously they provided the protection for us, PPE, but it went so rapidly, because typically those are disposable items. You use them once and you dispose of them. And because we were getting so many patients in so quickly, it was being used up so fast that, they ran out. So it got to a point where we had to make our PPE. We would get garbage bags and cut holes in them. And we were finding all kind of creative ways to try to protect ourselves, because honestly, no one knew what this thing was, or what it could cause, or what, we were terrified to bring it home to our families. And, so I would, if I could have burned my scrubs when I came home, I would have, but, it was scary. It was very scary. And some of these nurses are seasoned ICU nurses.
Wow.
Who've been nurses for years. I'm more of a newer ICU nurse, but they hadn't seen or experienced anything like that in their lifetime as well. And these patients would come in and, they'd be with us 1 second and they'd be gone the next. And we were seeing that repeatedly over and over.
So you were seeing deaths over and over again.
Absolutely, very rapidly. And these were able-bodied people. These were normal functioning people in society. Yes, they may have had chronic diseases, but they were managed chronic diseases. These were not sick per se, sick people.
Right.
And so it was pretty, pretty traumatic to see that and to experience that. And I think the most traumatic thing, or one of the more traumatic things, was having to deal with the families, because no one could come into the hospital. And so all those things about holding up the phone and FaceTiming family as they're saying goodbye to their family members that they were not expecting to say goodbye to, it was, we had to feel all of that
Right,
as
right.
it was happening. Yeah.
And what did you have to do? Because I know there are nurses that are on there that want to know from a spiritual standpoint, because I understand from, your career and what you have to do to kind of get yourself, but mentally that could be challenging. What did you have to do every day? Because you're concerned about coming home to your kids.
Right.
So coming home to your kids, having to be concerned about making sure that you weren't bringing anything home. What did you do from a spiritual standpoint?
Well, it really took trusting God to another level. I think I had to, I trust God for many things, but for something that really the world, especially in the beginning, that the world knew nothing about, that took trust to another level. Every day that I went in there, first I had to trust, because people thought it was only old people, and it was not only old people.
Right.
And so, and a lot of the nurses were getting sick as well. We even had a doctor, one of our doctors, who was very, very ill. And so I think it took trust to another level. Every day going in there, having to say, Lord, first of all, whatever you will is your will.
Yes.
Because God doesn't promise you won't get sick. Or, and so I would have, there's a sense of surrender when you go in there, and each day surrendering to say, Lord, I'm in your hands. My life is in your hands. These other nurses our lives are in your hands, and the lives of my family it's all in your hands. And so it took a lot of prayer, because it was hard. I mean, even just getting ready to go to work was, he felt it all.
That's where I'm going, because you had to support her, and that's what I want. Because you weren't there, you didn't have to go. But what was that like, being married to a first responder?
It was challenging. My first response was quick. If I'm honest, I don't know. That's not brave. She was brave for both of us. She saw it more as a calling.
Yes.
That she could not give up now. For me, I was like, we'll figure this out. Let's let this pass over. As time got on and they understood more about the virus, I began to adapt with kind of how she was feeling and taking her cues from hers. But there were many nights, man, whether it was physicians that were getting sick. Imagine you're working with a doctor, and 1 minute, and the next minute he's getting COVID.
Wow.
It was so much loss. There are times where just her and coworkers were just like, "This is too much."
Yeah.
That I'm just sick of people dying. Those are the words.
I mean, it was pretty. There were some days where I would come home and I would pretty much be in fetal position, because it was just traumatic. But I would say that it was an amazing opportunity for our family, because we oftentimes I would tell my family, hey, this person is sick and fighting for their lives, and my children, every day I come home, how is the doctor, or how is such and such? And they had an opportunity to really put prayer into practice and believe in and trusting God to bring people through. And so when I would say, oh, this person finally got better and they were transferred, we would celebrate together. So it became a beautiful moment. And they would, my oldest daughter, she had a phone, they would send me text messages, Mommy, I'm praying for you today. And, so it was beauty in amongst the ashes, for sure.
She probably won't say this, but my wife's bedside manners went to a whole another level. Her ability to comfort those that are grieving.
Wow.
Families would write her on not knowing what they'll do if she wasn't there, or her singing to people as they're passing.
Wow.
I was real proud of her at many points, and she just engaged suffering.
And but you know what? You don't look like it. That's God's grace.
That's grace, for sure.
Grace, that is God, that God would grace you to be able to comfort these families through the gifts that God gave you. Yes. And one of the things that I love is that your family was able to come in a beautiful moment of praying, because I think that the children during a lot of this just got missed. Nobody was talking about how the children were impacted.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
that's just not something that people have talked about. They talk about the spouses, but very few people talk about how the children were impacted and why they
Mhm.
can't just run up to you and hug you right
Yeah.
when you're home because you
Yeah.
have, you know, that's traumatic for children.
Yeah, for
So did you
sure. It
have
was
to
hard.
sit down and talk to them and explain some things to them?
Yeah, it was a great challenge. I mean, we're still going through it. It's still very real. Thank God it is getting better, but you know, still all same rules all still apply. Don't come up to me
Yes,
when I come home from work. You
yes,
know, get undressed in the garage. You know, same protocol.
yes, yes. So with that being said, because I know there's a lot of people that now have a lot of different opinions and people have politicized a lot of things that probably shouldn't be politicized. But I want to know, as a first responder and as a pastor, what are your opinions on the vaccination? Did you guys decide?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, for me, initially, you know, so initially I was against it because typically vaccinations take some time to develop into research and trials.
Right,
And this was produced so quickly that I was like, I need to see if people are going to grow an extra arm, you know.
right,
And
right,
so initially I was a little, you know, hesitant. But several nurses, including some of the older nurses, had gotten the vaccine and some time had passed, and I just felt that, you know, I was working directly with the population. And for me, it just made sense that if there's a chance that I could protect my family and
yes,
protect my parents and his parents, that, you know, that I was going to get the vaccine. And so, yeah, I was I was vaccinated, and then a few
Yeah,
months later.
probably a month ago, I got vaccinated.
okay,
Um, One of the things that I'll say that I strongly dislike is how the separation and the division
yes,
of the world leaks
Yeah,
into the church.
yeah,
And so our church, one of our core values is diversity, and not just diversity along ethnic lines, but diversity along decisions on whether I'm going to get vaccinated or not.
yes,
And the
and
body of
opinions.
Christ has to be big enough
Yeah.
to leave room for people to be okay if they're vaccinated and okay if they're
yes,
not.
Hmm.
And if
absolutely,
we don't, and if we don't leave that nuance, then we can end up isolating people that we don't need to.
Hmm.
And so, um, at our church, we probably have 5 categories. We got people all over the spectrum,
Hmm.
people that want to just rip off their mask,
Right.
people that will double mask, like it's just all over the place. And so we're moving with wisdom, asking
Right.
God for His guidance. But
Hmm.
above all of that, uh, we want to see God's people outdo each other
Hmm.
yes.
and showing love. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
let's
Yeah. Oh
go.
no, I was just gonna say, when people look down on the other because of their opinion, it's like,
Yeah.
well, it makes sense when people say they want to get vaccinated, and it makes sense when people say that they don't want to get vaccinated. I understand
Right,
both sides of it. And
exactly,
so yeah.
yeah. So now that we've segued into church, let's talk about, let's start with God.
Those transitions, boy,
Woo!
smooth.
Oh, come on, let's talk about church. How did you get into the church from the in the dorm room, then big room full of college students? How did you go from college campus ministry to the church?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for
We still
Okay.
trying to figure that out.
it.
It
I
just
was
popped up
I
on
was I was honestly, man, again, we love college students.
Mhm.
And I was happy with where we were. My pastor, um, Bishop Taylor, took us out to lunch and shared with us a vision that he had for us planning a church. Um, I can remember that day like it was yesterday.
Me too.
And I left And I was excited because people had told me for years I was going to be a
Right.
pastor. I didn't see how it was going to happen. But that language of church planting, like, just stuck in my heart. And so I left that lunch meeting celebrating. I'm like, church planting, starting it from the ground. Like I was going crazy. She was like I don't want this.
Tears.
Okay, yes, that's what I've been hearing.
Because like Kiesha, like I'm a PK. Love church.
What he do.
It's what I do. My wife was not raised in the church.
Okay.
And so she could not see herself being first lady, dressed down to ankles, like just all of the stuff.
Just
that we've
nuances
seen.
of what I thought. I mean, the
Right.
thing about campus ministry is that we weren't, it wasn't about title or position or
Yeah,
leadership.
we're not
We
title
just
people.
loved it. We just
love
it for
people,
us,
love
it was just
Jesus.
a part of our lives. Like, yeah, we going on this campus and we crazy, these students out here with signs, beat for Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
it was just something we did. But I felt like, oh, now if you're going to be a pastor, that's like official,
Yeah,
and
like official
it was
thing.
very official, and it was very scary to me. It was very scary to
Yeah.
me.
And so, I mean, from that time, we started reading books, and I started meeting and interviewing church planters. And I found out it was possible to plant a church in a way
Okay.
where my wife didn't have to be anything
Come on.
but my wife.
Come
Right.
on.
And that sounds like good, but that's literally how we function.
Right.
She
I
is-
love it. I love it.
She's my wife. And well, what does she do in the church? What she wants to do in the
That's
church.
it.
Just like every other member, just to do what they want to do. Like,
Right.
it's
That's
it-
it.
it's we really try to live that way because that's what helps her flourish. And I think
Yes.
sometimes the constraints of the church and growing up in it is, you just know it. There's this expectation. Oh, she has to do this. She has to do that. Now, my wife is an extremely gifted person, right? There are many things she can do, but she gets an opportunity to sit back. She's serving me and supporting me in church planting, which is a huge responsibility.
Yes.
And she's raising our kids.
Right.
Yes.
And so, those two things were important to us. The first couple of years of our church plant, she didn't work.
Right.
And it was ministry at home, trying to get the church off the ground. But that was a big part for us, that I didn't want to have to be that person driving my wife,
Yeah.
like a stat. No, I didn't want that, because what the pastor needs, and maybe there's some pastor listening, what you need when you come home is not a praise and worship leader.
That's it.
It's not a women's ministry
Yes.
director. You need your
You
wife.
need your wife.
And
Oh,
wouldn't it be beautiful if she can be your wife, not just at home, but in church on Sunday
Mhm.
morning, without letting people
Yes.
dictate to her what she's going to be. The
Right.
devil is a lie, and they're not going to
Yeah.
do it to my kids.
Not
So,
my kids
but
either.
don't. Well, you Pat, don't stop it.
No.
And we've been
That's
known
right.
to say that.
If your
No,
kids are running around,
Yeah.
my kids are running
they
around
cannot
too.
touch it. Yeah, because Sherri, you know it. It's because we grew up in it. We know.
Well, and I think part of the problem was because I didn't come from the church. I became a Christian in college, which is part of why college ministry is so dear to me. But a lot of the kids who was in the campus ministry at the time were returning back. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm coming
Yes.
back. I'm coming. And I was just like Jesus is so awesome. Like, why y'all left?
Right.
Like, what's going on? And a lot you hear story after story after story of the rebellion because of
Pressures.
all of the pressures
Right.
that the church had put on these, and so I was very determined, and I told the Lord, like, I don't want my kids to feel that coming from us. I think that you can't really help, like, you can't force people to not put that, we try to be as open and honest with people and request that they don't, but sometimes people still do try to put those pressures. But we try to, I wanted to be available to my kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, our kids need consistency and stability.
Yes.
And so I don't have to run 150 miles
No.
because he is, and
Right.
so they need someone to hold it down. And I wanted to be I wanted our family to come first, and I serve because I enjoy serving.
Yeah.
And I enjoy helping out where I call myself auxiliary. like wherever needs to be plugged in. Like
Yeah.
I like to help in that way.
And that's what I love about you guys, because you're so out of the box. And I think that's what draws so many. And because of what you've been saying, I know there's going to be people that are wanting to know, where is this church? Because I like this. I love everything about this. I love what you're saying. And I'm trying to get away from that pressure, that unnecessary pressure. So tell the viewers, how did you decide on the name of the church?
Yeah. Man, we struggle with the name. We really did. Let me just say one more thing. It's not like my wife doesn't do anything. Like she serves. She's a worker, but the goal for me is for me not to tell her what to do in the church.
Dictate.
I want it to be something, right? I want it to be something that's coming out of her. We struggle with the name. We really did. We were driving one day, and my wife, I was just driving. We're by the beach thinking, what do we name it? What do we name it? And she was like, Rodney, what is the church going to be about? It's going to be about the gospel. Like, if you come to our church, you're going to hear the gospel message in different ways every week. We're going to make a beeline to Jesus. You're going to see Jesus in the text. You're going to see Jesus lifted high. Like, it's about what he's done for us. It's about the gospel. She said, okay, what else? Man, it's people getting together, all kind of people. You know, I don't want no boundaries on who can come, all can come. And we just going to be together, we're going to fellowship. And she was like, there it is, gospel fellowship. That's literally how it is.
It's like gospel fellowship. We're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to do it together.
Yes. And what makes your church so appealing to young people, millennials, college students, people like yourself?
Yeah. I'm going to say something, and I know what you mean, but I'm going to say this as a part of my answer. It's his church. Yeah, I'm almost getting stuck there. It really is his church. It is the Lord's work that he is doing by his Spirit in drawing people to himself. I have been from conference to conference. I've read books, I've read manuals, I've been in workshops, and we are looking for that sauce.
Come on.
That secret sauce. And if I can hit that key, then that's going to draw them. But let's be clear. Unless the Lord build the house, they that labor in vain.
Exactly.
It is the Holy Spirit that is drawing people to himself. And he's drawing all kinds of people to himself. And in that, we rejoice about what Christ is doing in his church. What I have heard said about that is Rodney is real.
Authentic, yeah.
Rodney is he's gonna be honest. He's gonna be transparent.
Yeah.
He's not gonna make himself the hero in the sermon.
Come on. Yes. Yes.
He wants to be open about his struggles and where he's struggling. I think that's a part of it. Another thing is when some of the stuff jumped off with all of what happened in the past 3 or 4 years with police brutality, we paused and we'll do a whole sermon series on it. And so people felt like
relevant,
we found a place where we can wrestle with what's happening in the news and wrestle with the text and see Jesus stand as Lord over both. So I think it's transparency. That is community. Our church is primarily made up of small groups. We don't have a Wednesday night joint. We have small groups, so people are meeting in people's homes. They're around coffee tables. This is all pre-COVID.
Right.
Clarify.
Right.
Pre-COVID. People are in homes. People are in small groups. They're sharing lives. They meet together, and then they break out into something called prayer and confession, and then they're just opening up their life to being vulnerable with the same group from week to week. So people are building real sense of community, and growing in Christ together. So that's what I think.
We've always liked the idea of there being something, because some people want to come to a midweek service, and I think midweek services are great. I think that what happens though is that oftentimes you can continue to just go to a service and no one actually knows what's going on in your life.
Mm,
And so you can just continue to be in whatever struggle you're in, and show love on when you're together in a service, but that no one actually gets to sit around and talk and minister to one another. And so that's why the groups were really a priority for us when we started.
It takes the focus away from the lead guy.
Yeah.
okay.
People need to see there are many leaders in
Yeah.
this church, not one. We are elder led, which means our elders lead the church, not one man. So
Wow.
we split up authority, and we trust the community that God has given us as qualified elders to lead their church. So there's not this power dominating
Right.
struggle.
And
I just think the goal is for us is to raise up leaders. Our goal is to plant a church out of our church, right? Big
Wow.
picture, we want to multiply churches, so we need to raise up leaders. That's
yeah,
kind of,
I think that's our heart. And I don't want to paint a picture like this all happens so smoothly and
this is
easily. This
years.
is like, it's not all so perfect.
Yeah.
But it's our heart. And I think that people can see that and see the value in that.
Talk about the
and so-
imperfections. Talk about the challenge.
Well, I mean, I once heard someone say the problem with ministry is not ministry, it's people.
Wow.
And when you're dealing with people, there's going to be mess and, personalities, and there can be a lot of clashes and getting on one accord. That is not
People
an
getting
easy
burnt
thing to
out.
do. People getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And we're big on rest, and we don't want people to be burnt out. We know what that is and what that feels like. But helping people understand, the importance of saying a yes to God and how we work that into our lives. It has not all been, cupcakes and frosting. It's been a grind, but again, it's that daily surrender, that waking up the next day and saying, okay, Lord, here we go. And we're going to keep, by your grace, being faithful to this thing.
Okay. Excellent. And are you guys good on time?
Yes.
Okay, got just a few more questions. I want to talk to you guys about your missions, because you seem to do some things that are outside of the church walls. Can you talk to us about your mission trip to Haiti?
Yeah. So that was a while back.
Mhm.
One of the mentors I've had, Dale Johnson, he was a missionary for many years, and the way he did it was so subtle. He was like, Rodney, do you want a vacation in the Bahamas? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
count me in.
Rodney, you got money? I'm like, no. And he's like,
this was years ago.
This was years,
early
probably
enough.
10 years ago now, maybe longer
than that. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm gonna help you get there, but when we get there, I need you to help me pass out some beds to some people that need it.
Wow.
I'm like, whatever. And
You're like,
so
sure.
we go, we're having a great time. Then we have this half a day when we go grab 15 beds and stuff like that. And we're taking it to the most depressed part of the Dominican Republic, where people are living in huts. And we ride in this van and pull up, and we're taking these beds off, and the kids come running up to us, and they're grabbing our legs, and they're not wanting us to leave. And we're praying with them there, singing with them there. We deliver the beds, and when it's time to go, my wife almost breaks down.
We were taken by that. Yeah.
And just the fact that there was so much need around the world that we were so blinded to. And that just became trip after trip until I was raised up to lead a team that we led to Haiti to do work. And this is where our church is partnering with work that's happening now in Haiti. There's some unrest there. My daughter actually attended a mission trip.
Our oldest has gone to Nicaragua. So
Wow.
I think that from that first one, that he kind of drew us in with a vacation, but really his intention was to open our eyes to that. And since then, I think missions has always been a part of our heart. Yeah.
So I mean, COVID has done some things to really just put a halt to a lot of stuff that we've done. But we're eager to restart some things. We have an organization called U Moms, which partners with mothers that are in need of care.
Okay.
And sometimes in our culture, our response is, well, don't have an abortion, have the baby. And then a lot of times we don't give any support to the person that decides to have it. And so you, mom, comes around that mother. We do classes, I believe 8 classes or so that we do with them. And then at the end, we throw them a baby shower. So it just gives us an opportunity to connect with young moms in our community. We've done work in East Boynton
Okay.
for outreach with urban youth impact. So we've done some stuff over the years. We've done partnering work with our high school, Boynton Beach High School, with providing meals for the football team, doing Bible studies with the football players there. So COVID has just been such of a damper for us,
Yes.
but we're eager this fall to get back out and get
Open
going.
up, yeah, for sure.
But the thing I love is that you guys are not just planting yourself in there and asking people to come to your church. You're going outside of the 4 walls and you're going to the community. You are supporting the community. You're doing the same thing that Jesus did. He got outside of the 4 walls and saw about the needs of the community.
Yeah.
That is what I'm hearing. That is what I'm hearing. I love everything. And for those of you all that say, I love this, I want to follow these people, we're going to give you some information a little bit so that you can actually see how to follow them. And for those of you all that are in the Boynton area and you're looking for a church, we're going to give you an opportunity to be able to find them. So let's talk about education, because both of you guys are not really entrepreneurs, but you're out there, you're highly educated. How important is it? How important is education? Because you guys both have your graduate degrees.
Well, I have 2 bachelors. I don't have a graduate degree. He has a couple graduate degrees.
Okay.
And because I still have another step in my process, if that is what the Lord leads,
Okay.
in terms of furthering my career in nursing. Because I had a change of career. I used to be a social worker, and then switched to nursing. So it was a kind of a change of pace, and there's a process for that. But I think that I think education is important. It's kind of like your I'm just being careful because I know that these days people can do very well for themselves without having gained any kind of formal education. But I think that getting a formal education, one, it does have some sense of security, is a sense of safety that that your chances are higher in being successful in career-wise, and financially if you do have some type of formal training, whether that's a trade or a bachelor's or a master's, or especially as you go higher up. But for us, going to college was about so much more. Like going to school, it kind of expands your mind, not just on the topic that you're learning, but you become, I believe, you can become more of a well-rounded person because of the mere fact that you're exposing yourself to other people, other things, people from different backgrounds, people who have different beliefs, who don't, you're not around people who think like you, act like you, vote like you, worship like you even. And it gives you an opportunity to see more when you expose yourself in education, I would say.
Yeah, so I think a part of doing college ministry is you're going to have folks in your church that have degrees, multiple degrees. So.
Right, which is why, a big part of why a lot of the members of our church, have a lot of degrees or are highly educated, because we did campus ministry for so long,
so we're thankful for that. We're thankful for that. One of the things we fight for is that we don't worship our degrees.
Okay.
And so that our degrees become so much of a part of who we are, that if we're not careful, we see ourselves as to lead us over people that don't have them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's important to us, but we're thankful. We see them as tools in the hands of our God.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And in various different fields, whatever people are educated in, that you're a tool, and that when you go on that job with that degree, that it's a tool for you and you're on mission wherever you go.
Yes. And Pastor Rodney, which degrees did you get?
So my undergrad is in social work. I have a master's in educational leadership, master's in ministry with a concentration in church planning, and working on a doctorate. I don't know if I'll finish, but I'm
You're
working
gonna
on it.
finish, babe.
We said we're gonna finish that
Work on it.
doctorate degree.
This is
Come on,
hard.
put your hands to it. Yes, yes. But I love that you said that it's if it's the Lord's will. And I love that you're saying that you don't take your degree and worship it
Yeah.
as though it's something that you have over people that don't have them, but you recognize that your degree is a tool that God is using. Yes, that's it. It's just a tool. It's just a tool that God is using. So I want for people to be able to get to you guys and get to Gospel Fellowship. How did you guys continue services? And are you continuing services during the pandemic?
Yeah, so that we were, the whole church is in a learning curve. All churches were in it together. If you weren't online, man, we went from my phone and an O-ring light in my living room that first week. Did that for a couple of weeks. Started ordering stuff off of Amazon, just trying to figure technology out. What we learned in the interim, though, that was important is virtual people or people that watch online are real people.
Are real.
Yes.
We just did a membership class. And we're thankful 12 people joined our church.
Wait, you did membership virtually?
We did do a membership class virtually.
I need for people to know that because some people are still waiting until you get back into church, but there are people who want to join churches virtually right now.
Yeah. Well, let me say, so we did a virtual membership. This past Sunday, we're back in person.
Well, we've been back in person for
Since
some
February.
time now, yeah.
And so the people that came in virtually, we celebrated them.
Wow.
This past week. But we didn't want to halt the process because we felt like we could do it. Needed to be done outside the right hand of fellowship and preparing our people and getting them ready for membership. And so
you were saying all 12.
I was saying all 12 of the people that came in this past week found out about our church virtually.
Wow.
It's one of those things. It wasn't a personal invitation. It was, we've been following you. We've been watching you.
Oh, we've been watching for months now. And it's like, oh.
it's very vulnerable. People be
yeah,
like, oh yeah, I've been following your series.
Right. Remember the series you did last summer? And we were like, oh, you were watching.
Wow.
Like that.
So,
it's real. People are real out there.
So I think it's worth the investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's worth the $1,000, $1,500 investment, whatever it is to get up and running and going. Because that's one of the ways God's going to use us to evangelize the lost.
Yeah, it's just realistic to understand that not everyone is going to come to an actual church, not these days and time, and even why it's important for us to get outside and do ministry outside of the walls, because there's some people who just will not step foot in the church, for whatever reasons, but maybe they'll come to your house, or maybe they'll meet you at a coffee shop. Or maybe they'll come to a group that's going to help them to help support them as they're having this baby. And there are multiple ways that we can share the gospel and minister and disciple someone. It's just not always going to be inside of a church, and that's just reality.
You just said a mouthful. So how because there's people who've been listening and they want to know, how can they find your services every single week?
So the address is 138 Southeast 27th Avenue in Boynton Beach, Florida. We'll be happy to have you join us there. You can join us virtually at gospelfellowship.com. You can join us on Facebook at Gospel Fellowship, Instagram at Gospel Fellowship. So those are how you can get in contact with us there. But we'll love to see you live, and we'll love to see you online.
And what time are you airing, and what time you are actually meeting in person?
Sundays at 10 a.m.
Okay. And do you have any special events that are coming up right now?
Well, on May 30th, we're having just a packed service. We'll be doing baptisms.
Wow. Okay.
We will be having a kick off the summer picnic right after church, and we'll have all kinds of food and activity. So just let us know you're coming. If y'all come 30 deep, you might mess up the table. It's just gonna be it's gonna be a fun time. I'm taking some time off, and I'll say this: I'm taking some time off this summer away from the church, and so we'll be celebrating that time on that Sunday. And I just want to encourage pastors, man, get you some time away, get you some time with your family. Don't be a slave to people's opinion. The hard thing about people's expectations, Sherri, is sometimes they're not even real. It's the expectations we put on ourselves.
Right.
And so, man, I would encourage you to fight your own expectations, your own assumptions of what you think people are thinking, that they may not even be thinking, and really make sure you're caring for your own soul. If you're not,
and your family,
your family. So,
well, this has been exactly what I expecting. Nothing short of amazing. I want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you.
Can we thank you, Sherri?
Thank you so much for considering little old me.
Sherri came all the way down.
Sing a song for us, please.
No, listen, you guys have ministered in more ways than you can even know. You just have really ministered. And there's a lot of people that have been watching, people who are married that are struggling in their marriage, pastors who are right at the edge of saying, I am done. I am done. First responders that said, I feel so beat up, like I can't do this anymore. Can you guys pray for the people that are watching that are right there, and they've been watching, but they actually need somebody to come into agreement for strength, for peace, whatever the Lord puts on your heart. Can you begin praying for them right now?
Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray for pastors. I pray for pastors' wives that are spent, that are tired. They have been through such of a tragic year. Some of them have seen congregations split in half. They've seen people just leave, and they haven't received calls or text message, and people have just ghosted them. God, this is a challenging road that you called pastors to walk down. And Lord, I feel that pain and that sentiment. But Lord, who you call, you qualify, you strengthen, you build up. I pray that they would be what Paul commanded Timothy to be, that they would preach the word in season, out of season, when people want to hear it and when they don't. God, would you build up their wives, stand alongside them courageously and boldly. God, would you drive out the enemy of division that seeks to tear asunder marriages and churches and ministries? Lord, would you just be a hedge and protection around the people that are listening, God, and even those that are not? Would you just build up strong churches that preach your gospel and seek to serve their cities, Lord? Would you do that? Father, I pray for first responders who are still on the front lines, and seems like people have forgotten about this pandemic, but they're still serving faithfully. God, would you come alongside them and walk with them and strengthen them and encourage them? Father, I thank you for Sherri. I thank you for this ministry, Lord. I thank you for her gifts and how you're using her. God, would you encourage her heart? God, would you, God, walk with her in a way that helps her to know that you are with her, God, and that she will not leave her or forsake her. So God, would you build and strengthen all that she's putting her hands to do, stuff that we see, stuff that we don't see. She's a planner. She has a plan, God. Would you just, by your grace, we just offer those plans to you. Would you bless it, God? And we thank you for all that have participated today. Be with your people. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Listen, I appreciate that. I appreciate that word. I appreciate that prayer for me, because Lord knows I need it. And I thank all of you viewers. If this has blessed you, and I know that it has, because it has blessed me, I have been like a sponge. I just soaked everything up. And I know that you guys have too. Make sure you share this and tag, because this is ministry. That's what this is all about. And for those of you all that want to follow them, tell them now what your social media pages are, because you have people that say, I need to know where they are on Instagram, where they are on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm Rodney Wilkinson at Facebook. Real simple. And then at Rodney Wilkinson on Instagram. Gospel Fellowship is the same, and that's me. How about you, sweetie?
Yes, I am Kiesha Wilkinson on Facebook. Just Kiesha Wilkinson is what it is. And
You don't have no weird, no weird thing.
oh, you know what? My Instagram, because my sister initially made it up for me. It's lovely. It's lovely _ Kai at Instagram.
Okay. And spell that for them.
Lovely, LOVE Y. Oh, would I put the L in there? Yeah, LY _ KIE.
Okay.
And that's Instagram. And on Facebook, Kiesha is just Kiesha Wilkinson, KIESHA, Wilkinson, WILKINSON.
Yes. So I know you guys have enjoyed it. I have too. I thank you, Pastor Rodney. I thank you, Kiesha. See, I got it right. I thank you so much for joining. And for those of you all viewers, make sure you follow Pastor Rodney and Kiesha Wilkinson, and make sure you stop by Gospel Fellowship. Good night. God bless you.
Good night, everybody.
God is a promise keeper. Yes, He is. I said, God is a promise keeper.
I want things to go back to the way they used to be. I want, Rodney, my parents to be reconciled. And I've come to learn that feeling, because just several years later, my parents would also go through a divorce, and I would echo some of the same thoughts and sentiments. And I think if we're honest, as painful as that can be, and as we've tried to move on and we've tried to let time heal all wounds, we still long for reconciliation.